Tom tossed and turned. Sleep offered no escape tonight. Images flickered behind his eyelids, dark and unsettling. He saw shadows twisting into monstrous forms, heard whispers carried on the wind. He sat up in bed, heart pounding in his chest. He was in his own room, yet it felt alien, filled with an unseen menace. A shiver ran down his spine. He wished for daylight, for the familiar comfort of Huck's presence. Huck, too, was troubled by restless dreams. He dreamt of black cats with glowing eyes, their hissing a chilling melody in the night. Each time he felt close to waking, a cold hand would pull him back into the abyss of his nightmares. He woke with a gasp, sweat clinging to his brow. The faint glow of dawn was just beginning to paint the sky, but it offered little comfort in the face of the dread that clung to him. The boys, drawn together by an unspoken fear, met by the woodpile, their faces drawn and pale. They hadn't spoken of their dreams, but the fear in their eyes spoke volumes. The usual morning banter was replaced by an uneasy silence. They felt a shift in the air, a heaviness that pressed down on them, a premonition of something ominous looming. As the sun began its ascent, casting long shadows across the sleepy town, the boys tried to shake off the remnants of their nightmares. The familiar rhythm of life in St. Petersburg did little to ease their unease. A dog's mournful howl pierced the morning quiet, sending shivers down their spines. It was a sound filled with a sorrow that resonated deep within their bones. "Did you hear that, Huck?" Tom's voice was barely a whisper, his usual bravado replaced by a tremor of fear. Huck, ever vigilant, scanned their surroundings. Just old Miss Miller's hound dog Tom, probably missing his breakfast. But even as he spoke, a chill danced down his spine. The dog's howl hung in the air, a mournful dirge that seemed to seep into the very marrow of their bones. Trying to distract themselves, they wandered towards the river, each hoping the other wouldn't notice the tremor in their steps. But the tranquility of the Mississippi did little to soothe their jangled nerves. The air was thick with unspoken fear, and the usual comforting sounds of nature seemed to amplify their unease. As they rounded a bend in the path, a hushed conversation drifted from the bushes, sending a fresh wave of apprehension through them. They froze, their blood turning to ice. The voices were low, almost indistinguishable, but the words bad luck and omen hung heavy in the air. Fear, raw and primal, took root in their chests. "We shouldn't be here, Tom," Huck whispered, his eyes darting back and forth. The woods seemed to press in around them, the trees taking on menacing forms in the dappled sunlight. The rustling of leaves sounded like whispers, the chirping of birds like warning cries. Tom, despite his own fear, felt a surge of protectiveness towards his friend. "We ain't done nothing wrong, Huck. Come on, let's just get out of here." But his voice lacked its usual confidence, betraying the unease that gnawed at him. They turned to leave, their steps hurried but silent, their eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. Just as they thought they were safely out of earshot, a new sound reached them, a rhythmic snoring, coming from the direction of the old graveyard. The color drained from Tom's face. He grabbed Huck's arm, his grip surprisingly strong. "You hear that?" he hissed, his voice barely audible. The snoring continued, each rasping breath sending chills down their spines. For a moment, they stood frozen, fear paralyzing them. Then, a slow, unspoken agreement passed between them. They couldn't ignore this. They had to know what lurked in the shadows of the graveyard. The graveyard lay shrouded in an unnatural silence, the air heavy with the cloying scent of decaying flowers. The boys crept through the overgrown paths, their hearts pounding a frantic rhythm against their ribs. Each rustle of leaves, each creak of a branch sent a jolt of fear through them. The graveyard felt alive, pulsating with an unseen energy that made their skin crawl. The snoring grew louder as they approached a crumbling mausoleum, its stone facade covered in moss and lichen. Shadows danced around the entrance, making it seem like a gaping maw ready to swallow them whole. Tom's grip on Huck's arm tightened, his knuckles white as bone. They peered into the darkness, their breath catching in their throats. The air inside was thick with the smell of damp earth and something else. Something unidentifiable but undeniably unsettling. The snoring seemed to echo off the cold stone walls, amplifying its intensity. "Tom, I don't like this," Huck whispered, his voice trembling. "Let's just go." fear warred with curiosity in his chest. But fear was winning. But Tom, fueled by a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity, was determined to uncover the source of the sound. "Just a little closer, Huck," he whispered back, his voice barely audible. "We've come this far." Taking a deep breath, Tom pushed open the creaking door of the mausoleum. The hinges groaned in protest, the sound echoing through the silence like a scream. The boys held their breath, their eyes straining to penetrate the darkness. They took a hesitant step inside, their feet crunching on something that felt unnervingly like bone. The air was thick with dust and the stench of decay, causing them to gag. The snoring continued, its rhythm unchanged despite their presence. With each step deeper into the mausoleum, their fear intensified, threatening to overwhelm them. They stumbled over something soft and yielding, and a choked cry escaped Tom's lips. They scrambled back, their hearts pounding against their ribs like trapped birds. As their eyes slowly adjusted to the dim light filtering through cracks in the walls, they made out a figure slumped against the far wall. A wave of relief washed over them, so potent it nearly buckled their knees. It wasn't a monster, wasn't a creature from their nightmares. It was Muff Potter, the town drunk, passed out cold, a half-empty bottle of whiskey clutched in his hand. "Muff Potter?" Huck exclaimed, his voice a mixture of relief and disbelief. "What in tarnation is he doing in here?" Tom let out a shaky laugh, the sound a release of the tension that had been building inside him. "Looks like he found himself a nice, quiet place for a nap," he said, his voice lighter than it had been all day. Relief morphed into a strange sort of amusement as they watched Muff Potter snore, oblivious to their presence. They backed away slowly, eager to escape the confines of